Okay, so
Okay,
everyone has to
the
click
meeting
on
is
that.
now being recorded.
Yeah. What I'm gonna do is send Olivia an email.
Frank, you get me another pen? Can you get me another pen?
All right. I just sent Olivia an email asking if she could jump on. So I don't know if she's working or not. We'll see. All right, so let's do introductions. Nevertheless, my name is Steve Andrews. I'm the DD Council Chairman, and we're nice enough to have Peter Mendoza be part of our council meeting. He's subbing and will sub for the near future, Peter, for all of our DD Council meetings for Sonia. Am I correct?
That is correct. And hi, everyone. Good to be with you all. Mr. Chair, if I can just do a second to introduce myself. My name is Peter Mendoza, and as Steve said, I am the new community program specialist for the Sacramento Regional Office. So I get to work with a lot of wonderful people, Sonia, you all, and a great team. Just for a little background and transparency, I am a consumer and family member in our system. I have real fondness for DD councils in my early days of advocacy. So back in the 80s, I was on the Marin DD Council, also served on other boards and commissions. My mother was actually a founding member of the Marin DD Council and was very active in getting the Lantern Act passed. And so she passed away, so I honor her legacy too.
Very nice. Thank you very much for that. All right, if everyone else wants to introduce themselves, go right ahead.
Maureen Fitzgerald.
Bonnie Douglas.
John Berger, DDSO Short Center North Program Director.
Patty Pacheco just said hello.
All right, and I think that's it. We're good. All right, so I just emailed
Sorry,
both
can't hear
John
you.
Decker and
I don't know why
Olivia
they didn't.
Balco asking if they're going to join us in the meeting. So I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I was anticipating that a woman, Tiffany, was going to join us because she applied to be on our DD Council meeting, or to be on our DD Council, but I don't see her showing up here. And I did email you, Maureen, and Clarice Thomas and Tiffany this morning, asking when we can turn around and have a interview. Oh, Sue Gilmore just turned around and said she's going to sign on late. So she'll be with us today.
Good morning, John.
Good morning, folks. How you doing?
Good.
Boy, we were giving up hope. Ooh, I'm glad you're back from your Cub Scout retreat, huh?
Yeah, that was interesting. I was there for a grand total of 6 hours before they said, okay, turn around and evacuate. There's a fire going on.
Oh,
So I was right. If you're following the news, the Dixie fire is up in kind of Butte County, Plumas County, kind of right there. And it's about less than 30 miles from where Paradise had the big fire. And so needless to say, everyone took the evacuation very seriously. So.
well, we're glad you're safe and you're back. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So all
Thank
of us
you.
did introductions. We have Peter Mendoza, who's kind of subbing in the future now for Sonia from the State Council. And we're glad
Well,
to
welcome,
have
Peter.
you
I don't
aboard.
think I've met Peter yet. So nice to meet you, Peter.
Nice to meet you, John. I've heard a lot of great things about you. So look forward to lots of collaboration together.
Peter, they were all lies.
I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna say that.
Obviously, you didn't talk to any of these folks.
Yes, that's right. Okay,
Well,
so
Look
let's,
forward to working with you.
Absolutely, Peter. Great to see you, and look forward to working with you too. Obviously, as I've said many times before, Sonia is certainly my partner in crime on many things, and so look forward to working with you also.
you know, Peter, the truth of the matter is John Decker has done a superb job in getting all of the, you know, Alta clients, as many as they possibly can, vaccinated for the COVID virus. And, you know, it took a heck of a lot of work to get people to do it. So I really want to acknowledge that. I mean, was a tall task to take on.
Thank you very much. So I do have some updates for folks. I'm going to go over just the items that I plan on covering. And if there's anything else that you'd like me to touch on, please let me know. So I'm going to give you guys a COVID update, kind of a follow-up. There was a letter that went out to service providers last week. And so just kind of want to give you an update of where we're at today. I'm going to talk about the vaccination numbers, just kind of like the percentages, you know, for, you know, the different living arrangements. I'm going to talk a little bit about the budget, talk about new regional center positions, new positions that are in the budget, new types of folks to be interacting with at the regional center. I'm going to talk briefly about the Coordinated Future Planning Initiative. We're going to talk about briefly the CIE roadmap, and then just a little update on our upcoming board meeting that we're having.
Great.
What is it? Tomorrow. Tomorrow is our next board meeting. So, so if you don't mind, I will kind of roll through that, and then I won't take super long. And then if there's other questions or things you guys want me to cover, just let me know. So first off, we'll be sending it out today. But one thing I found was that a new provider information notice went out to all licensed providers, indicating that the 15-minute antigen tests are now available for all providers that are part of the adult and senior care. So that would be all adult day programs, all adult care homes would be able to have access to, it's called the BINAX Now, BINAXNOW antigen test. And again, that's a 15-minute test that can be done for COVID. And so Christine from Community Services is actually going to be sending that information out to all of our licensed day programs. Hopefully everyone's already signed up with community care licensing to get the updates, but there's so much information that comes out. Very rarely do I feel like I need to also send it out, but this is just a good opportunity for folks that want to get like really fast testing done, because there's obviously a lot of concerns about unvaccinated staff, and then you know, the Delta variant, and dealing with the just high levels of cases that kind of have erupted because of that. So we did send out a message.
How do you spell that again?
Yeah, it's BINAXNOW
Thank you.
BINAX Now is kind of what it looks like. I've never heard anyone say it out loud though, so I don't know if I'm saying it right. So again, I think that's exciting. You know, we really certainly do want to see vaccinations, you know, at 100%, but we know that that's not going to be the reality of what we're dealing with. We did send out a message because we had some real concerning spike in cases that occurred last week. And I am happy to say that since we sent out the message, what was that, like on Wednesday? We talked about it, I think, on Thursday at the Provider Advisory Committee. And then I talked about it again at the Coffee with Community Services. We've not had any more cases since then. So, and I haven't checked today, but as of yesterday, so that's great. I mean, we went through the weekend, we went through Monday and did not have any more reported cases. And so we were really hoping that it was not going to be a return to where we were at, you know, months before, where we had just, you know, dozens of cases that were being reported a day. So we are very guarded in all of this right now. We're very, I know day programs are very concerned about people coming back and being in person, especially with kind of the surge of things that's going on right now. And the challenge I would just point out for, you know, day program operators across the area is, you know, at a care home, you have, you know, a certain amount of understanding of kind of what goes on with the client, who they interact with, you know, et cetera. That really diminishes in day programs. In day programs, you really aren't sure kind of what goes on. And so it just, I know in talking myself to a certain number of day program operators, that's one of the things that they are concerned about. And then obviously concurrently, just a complete lack, a dearth of qualified applicants, or I should say applicants at all, to work for the programs. And that's crossing all sectors, you know, in America, but we are certainly seeing it across our service system. And, you know, at $14, $15 an hour, you know, in a care home or in a day program, or $17, $18 an hour at, you know, In-N-Out Burgers, Starbucks, you know, Amazon, you know, some of these other places. And so it really is tough. And I'm going to get into the budget just shortly, but right now, you know, it is very concerning that we are going to have enough program staff to even allow day programs to look at reopening fully, if that makes sense. There is a lack of folks, I believe, across the board for people to be able to fully make their ratios. We did put out a survey to our day program providers, and that survey was kind of like a when we're planning on opening up, where are we at mid-June, where do we plan to be in August as far as the number of people that we're serving. Of course, when we had folks fill that out a few weeks ago, that was before we started to see an additional surge of new cases that were coming along as well. But that being said, you know, for the most part, many of our day program providers were looking at getting up to, you know, a pretty good capacity by, I would say probably August, mid-August, September, you know, up to at 75% possibly or more. And that's for quite a few of our programs. There's a number of programs, though, especially some of those programs like the United Cerebral Palsy programs in Sacramento, in the greater Sacramento area, that serve some of our older clients. Right now, they don't really have that, you know, planned out exactly what that return date is exactly going to look like. So that is, that's a challenge. One thing that I will share with folks that I've talked about it with DDS, and I am really encouraging it amongst our service providers, is the idea of using this opportunity when alternative services can be billed for, to try to reinvent your services. If you're interested in reinventing your day program so that it's more in line with HCBS final rule, if you're interested in offering more individualized services, if you're looking at trying to do something that maybe you've never done before because the regional center pigeonholes you when it comes to what you can do, because it boils down to what we can pay for and what service code things fall under. And so this is really a good opportunity, I think, for providers to be creative and suggest some things to the regional center, especially while some of the costs, because not all the staff are hired right now, are lower right now. This is, I mean, that's one of the questions that DDS said is, well, can your day program providers even, are they receiving enough revenue to be able to do some of these things? And my, you know, exchange back was, you know, the costs have also dipped significantly as well. So even if the revenue is not amazing, I mean, it's all based off of what the average attendance was previously, then, you know, but again, I think that's something that folks need to be thinking about. And that's the challenge with DDS is they're not being very vocal about this stuff. They were really vocal about it. Steve might remember too, about a year ago, back in May of 2020, they were really vocal about re-envisioning services and looking at, you know, congregate settings being different and more individualized programming for clients, which is awesome. But then they just stalled out and they just stopped talking about it. And so what I shared with them is that, you know, this is a fantastic opportunity for providers right now where they don't have to worry about, you know, as long as the planning team's okay with it, the client wants the service, then the alternative services can look however the client wants them to look. And it's just a very good opportunity, I think, for folks right now. And so I'm really encouraging it, and I'm encouraging DDS to encourage it, because I think there's a lot of providers that really still feel apprehensive unless they hear like a direction from DDS that it kind of needs to go, you know, that they should try out those things. So I'm encouraging DDS to try to get some information out specifically about that. Just one moment. I have the COVID immunization numbers, and I want to touch on just a couple of them real quickly, which is we are at 92.4% of our clients that live in 4 to 6 bed care homes, and that's like 1,500 of our clients. we're at 92.4% of them vaccinated. That's good. The last I had heard, the state average was around the mid 80s, like 87, 88 or something like that for community care facilities. So I think that's pretty awesome. A little bit less in family home agencies. I was a little surprised about that. Only about 76% of the folks that are residing in family home agencies. We have 2 agencies in our catchment area that serve Sacramento County, which is Enriching Lives and California Mentor. So again, I think the numbers are encouraging. If you go on DDS's website, they have a whole data screen that you can look at that kind of gives Alta's report card, and you can certainly see that we did vaccinate a whole lot of our clients. And the nice thing is we got it done really, really early. It was, end of January, February, March. By March, we were kind of already winding down a little bit with some of them. We were kind of doing the second shot clinics. So I think that really did help and certainly helped keep our COVID numbers down, but there's always, there's always more that we can do. There is budget information. So a few things, things have kind of shaken out now a little bit, and we have an idea of kind of where we're at with this. So there's kind of 3 types of documents that I'm using right now to help kind of keep the budget stuff straight. And that is the actual trailer bill itself, which I think is like SB 136 or something like that. I think that might be the number. It's this year's trailer bill. Yeah, does that sound right, Maureen, right? Yeah. And then additionally, the new version of the HCBS spending plan. So there was the original 29-page long HCBS spending plan, and then there was the revised version. So initially, when we saw the HCBS spending plan, and just real quickly, just briefly, so that is the American Rescue Act funds, which increased the federal dollars that came in for Medicaid waiver services. The state was required to make a proposal to the feds on how they would spend those funds. Health and Human Services Agency made that proposal. There was a number of things in there. One of the ones that I was very excited about was $150 million for affordable housing for regional center clients, and some other very interesting, ideas as well that would really help out. There was a change. There was an issue because there was also then right around that same time a report. Well, I would say a kind of a deal put forth to the governor that would fund the rate study, and that was something that folks really were interested in doing. And the rate study was accomplished from 2018 through ended in 2019, and produced the report. And basically it outlines for the different service codes that were evaluated, which is the vast majority of them, basically all the ones that are not funded just through Medi-Cal. And in doing that, then it looked at, where should all of these providers be at? And so what they've put forth is a plan to enact the rate study, and I think providers should be able to figure out what their rate increases are going to be or not by looking at their service code and seeing what it says in the rate study, and then looking at what they are currently making and for their rate. And there's a formula that has been created well, not really a formula. The way they're operationalizing this is it's like a quarter increase, so that you'll get a quarter of the difference between where you're at and where the rate study says you should be after like the first year, kind of continues on like that. And then the final 10% to get from 90% to 100% of that increase is going to be like performance based. And DDS has not put out specifically what those standards are going to be. I have a feeling that that's probably not their #1 priority right now, since they know that they don't have to worry about it for probably 2-3 more years. But I think that's exciting. My area of concern is what we lost, which was a lot of that affordable housing money. And so there's going to be a lot of work at the regional center to operationalize these things on our end. Talking about changing rates for everyone is obviously going to need some fiscal assistance and some community services support. So one thing that we're looking at in the trailer bill, looking at in the budget, is different positions that are built in for the regional center as well to help accomplish some of these specialized things that DDS wants done as outlined in the trailer bill budget, etc. So at our regional center, I'm just going to talk about 3 real quick. Number 1 is the self-determination program navigators, the SDP service navigators. I don't know exactly the number of each of these positions that will be assigned to our regional center yet. Usually that takes a little more like shaking out. We know that we're going to have them, but we're not sure exactly how many of them there will be. And then additionally, we're going to have the 1 to 40 caseloads. The 1 to 40 caseloads is taking a look at those individuals that have historically had little or no purchase of service from the regional centers. And the idea is I think it's for a short term. I think it's less than 2 years. But basically, they would move on to a caseload where caseloads are at like 1 to 40. You're familiar that our normal caseloads right now, at least, are about 1 to 80s to 90s. We have some in the hundreds. And so we certainly want to get down our caseloads much smaller, but there's also, again, the specialization that DDS is looking for. And this is based off of a pilot that went on at South Central LA Regional Center, if I remember correctly. And so, again, the recommendations, or excuse me, the expectations for our service coordinators would be the same. So we require folks to account for about 400 what we call Title 19 units a month. And what that does is that works out to about 5 hours a day of documented like case management activities. So on a caseload of 1 to 100, that kind of looks like one thing, but when you have a caseload of 1 to 40, that means that you are going to have a lot more time to do more thorough assessments of individuals. Is it that they don't want the services? They might want the case management, but aren't interested in the actual services themselves. Or is it that they just aren't aware of the services that are available? And I think that's the big thing that we want to get out of this, is that we want to find out who are those people that are just really being underserved right now. And can we look at, increasing quality of life as the client is interested in, based off of doing, again, more thorough assessments and really taking the time to explain better the different types of services that are available. So the 1 to 40 caseloads, you may remember there was a 1 to 25 caseload that was put in place a couple years ago. The 1 to 25 caseloads are for those really intensive crisis type of clients. And we've got, I think, 3 of those service coordinators at our regional center. Finally, the last thing we're looking at is the deaf specialist. And this results from a lawsuit brought by Disability Rights California. I think it was through ACRC actually. And it was specifically related to a real lack of services that were being provided to individuals that were deaf. I mean, I read the stuff and it was pretty well documented that there was time that had gone by where people were just not even offered services that they really needed, which is very unfortunate. Some of you are familiar that we are kind of a destination spot for folks that are looking for services for folks that are deaf. And a lot of that, goes back to, we've got the Gene Martin Homes and STEP and places that really do specialize in working with the deaf population. And so what this deaf specialist position, it'll probably be a community services specialist. So it'll be someone somewhere underneath me. And that person is going to be responsible both for helping connect the service coordinators to appropriate services, but also for resource development too. So for example, if we want to work at vendoring a new type of program that specifically specializes in working with deaf clients, if we want to figure out ways to make it easier for our clients that are deaf to participate in other types of services, like if there's things that can be done to aid in that, those are all the things that we're kind of going to be looking at. And actually, I forgot, there's a 4th one, which is the disaster preparedness position. So this is the disaster, and this one is, I think, maybe posted today, actually. So this is a very non-traditional, I should say, position for our regional center, because we're not really looking for someone with a social work background. We're looking for people with that understand the emergency response systems throughout the state of California. So maybe it was someone that's worked in law enforcement. Maybe it's someone that has worked maybe they were a National Guardsman, because the National Guard is very involved anytime there's any of these types of emergency situations, and a guardsman that had been called out would probably have some familiarity with some of these things. So that might be, but all the regional centers are kind of scrambling to write job descriptions and try to get that posted. And I will tell you what, Lori Benalis and Lori is our new executive director. For those that have not heard yet, Lori was our deputy executive director, has been with the regional center now 26 years. And she was chosen through a process with our board of directors as our next executive director. And again, we were talking yesterday about the disaster preparedness position. And this has really popped up more in just like the last 5 years or so, between all the fires and flooding and things like that, and a lot of support that's needed. Far Northern Regional Center has really been hit hard as well with some of these things. And so I think it really will be good to have someone that, doesn't have a bunch of other responsibilities, other than when we get into these situations, making sure our clients are safe. That's like our number one biggest priority. And so I would really like, for example, that position to help identify like those individuals in outlying areas, don't have transportation. Like if someone has to, if someone lives in cool California, if you guys know where that area is, Forest Hill, whatever, they live by themselves, they need help getting around, we need to have those folks as like priority one, as far as dealing with like evacuations, or at minimum, making sure that the regional center is immediately reaching out to those people that are kind of at those highest risks. So I'm excited about that person coming on and teaching the regional center a few things about how to prioritize like a kind of disaster planning and like the risk management aspect of it. So I'm really excited about that. And we'll look, I don't know exactly who, I think that position may end up in our training department, because, and you can imagine like, for those of you that work with service providers, how great it would be to have a disaster preparedness specialist from the regional center come speak to your staff too, about ways to support people when they're evacuating from a fire, or, making sure that when they're out in homes, that the homes are looking safe themselves. So anyways, really looking forward to that coming on. So those are our new positions that we're looking at. I would say we're probably a few months out from looking at filling many of these, but we're looking at getting some of them posted ASAP. And the regional centers are all kind of sharing job descriptions back and forth as well, to make it a little bit easier for folks. But we wanted to get ours in first, because we don't want North Bay or Valley Mountain stealing a good candidate from the Sacramento area. That would break my heart to find out that someone decided to drive down to Stockton for the same job we're offering in Sacramento. So we're getting ours out. And if anyone has any ideas about that, or anyone that might be, you're welcome to shoot me an email. Most folks have my email address, jdecker@altaregional.org. But again, it's just a very exciting thing. I think Laura will probably talk about it a little bit more tomorrow as well. We are moving along with our coordinated future planning initiative. We are doing a brief training with our service coordinators next week. We have our first task force meeting. And again, the coordinated future planning initiative is looking at ensuring that our adult clients that reside with older caregivers, primarily usually their parents, that when their older primary caregiver is no longer available, that there is some other place for the individual to go to, that there's a plan that is in place. Additionally, one of the things that we are concerned about is that, in IPP meetings themselves, all the different options for different living options are not discussed in those planning team meetings. And so the initiative itself will look at, and Sonia, who is part of this group always, is going to be a member of it. Patty Uplinger is going to be helping out, as she does with everything related to housing with the regional center as well. And we have some great parents that have volunteered, and then we've got some clients that are, so we have 3 clients, Robert Levy, some might know him from the Mine Institute, and then we have Lisa Cooley, who most folks that are familiar with advocates know Lisa. We have Steven Sanchez, who's a longtime client advisory committee member. And also we're looking at representation of not just Sacramento too. So we've got folks from Placer County, Yolo County, we've got folks from different areas as well that are represented. And so we'll all be working together to train our service coordinators on how to better engage with clients and families about housing choices, about caregiver succession planning. And so with that, let's see. We have our, like I said, we have our first work group meeting at the end of this, actually it'd be next week, towards the end of next week. And then we're going to get going developing the curriculum that we'll be training the service coordinators on. CIE roadmap. We're undergoing a similar, so CIE, I'm told them we do these meetings that we're not supposed to use acronyms. So competitive integrated employment. And so the CIE roadmap came out from DDS. We're looking at operationalizing it on our end, and part of that is through a stakeholder process as well. You know, you guys have always been great. I think it was Pete Tiedemann was the first person that said, hey, can you go cover presenting to this group, the Sac County DD Council, and you guys are always so involved in the things that we do. And I just, I'm so happy because our new executive director has really embraced that, and Phil really embraced it as well. Really, having been a former service provider, I mean, he was really into making sure that we had the pulse of what was going on with service providers and our community as well. Lori is looking at kind of just operationalizing it a little bit more, so that like we have certain ways in which we make sure that we have that stakeholder input, and we offer like multiple opportunities. And even if we do things like, put together a task force to work on something, we would still, during our public meetings, so we have our board meeting, we have our client advisory committee meeting, we have our provider advisory committee, we will still be updating our stakeholder groups on the activities that are going on and seeking comment from folks on the activities. So for example, with the coordinated future planning, when we get to a point where we've got like our learning objectives and kind of nailing down our curriculum, we would kind of share that with our public, and then look for written comment back that the group can consider. And again, we've got 16, 17 people in our task force, but there's so many more folks that were interested, and so many more, lots of parents. I've been talking to parent groups a lot, and lots of parents have said, we've been waiting a long time for people to take seriously these discussions, and a lot of people don't feel like talking about it during the planning team meetings. But this, I think, is going to really help us have a good picture of what folks' needs are. And then, that's great. But then on the other side of it, if we have a lot of folks that are saying, I want to live in ILS, we have a lot of folks that say, I want SLS, we really need places for folks to live. And there is a barrier that exists to be able to access affordable housing for people with developmental disabilities. And one of the ways we try to overcome those things is by doing housing development. And one thing I will share with you, if you guys are familiar with Elk Grove, and oh, cool. For the city of Elk Grove, if you're familiar with the kind of Bruceville Road area, there is the big Lutheran church property that's right there. And so we are very happy. Sorry. I always try to turn my email off during the middle of these things, but then I always have to try to, access some great tidbit of information in my email. And I keep getting emails today. Everyone found out about Dave Hingsberger passing away a few days ago. You guys are familiar with him a little bit, Dave Hingsberger, big advocate, speaker, talked a lot about sexuality with individuals with developmental disabilities, and he ended up passing away. We brought him, I was part of the National Association for Dual Diagnosis, NADD, conference in 2015. I was on the planning committee for that, and we brought him out to San Francisco to speak, and he was very passionate and very colorful, and unfortunately he passed away a few days ago. Anyways, I don't know. I was in the middle of talking about the Elk Grove project. So the Elk Grove project is looking at 21 units. This is put forth by the John Stewart Company / Bethesda. And Bethesda is tied to the Lutheran Church. And basically what they do is they go around and they convert the typically large church properties into low-income housing. And so for the property that's across from the middle school there on Bruceville and Laguna, on that area right there, there is a 4-acre plot, and the church only has 100 people that attend the church. And so they're going to be keeping the church on the property, but then turning the rest of the property into low-income housing. So the city of Elk Grove was fantastic. We had our first meeting, and there was some stiff competition from some well-known folks, Mutual Housing and Mercy and other folks, but our project rated #1. And so it moved forward to them getting their loan application into the city of Elk Grove. And again, this is for low cost financing. There is going to be a number probably of other things that we need to do. So for example, we need to try to get some project-based vouchers out of Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Agency. And so I had emailed Steve about 2-3 weeks ago saying that it would be great if maybe if I could give you guys a little bit more information, like pictures and stuff, and you guys would feel comfortable maybe writing a letter of support saying, you know, we are very excited to hear that the city of Elk Grove is considering basically their first ever development for people with developmental disabilities. And I will say that's one of the reasons why it did score so high. The 2 city council persons that were on there were, and the housing like director too, the person that's responsible for it for the city of Elk Grove, they were all very excited about the opportunity to be able to provide support for our clients. And you guys know I did my public testimony, and I expressed to them that what better way for the city of Elk Grove to show their commitment to the 2,000 people with developmental disabilities that live in their area than to give them the choice to be able to stay there. Our clients should not have to choose between living in a living arrangement that they don't want just so that they can live in the city that they grew up in. If our clients want to be able to live, you know, independently out on their own, they need an affordable place to be able to do it. And so the city of Elk Grove thought that was very compelling, along with our very low incomes, as you guys are all aware, of our clients. And so therefore, there's a good likelihood that they're going to qualify for tax credits and everything else. So that being said, what I will do is submit kind of something a little bit more formal to you guys that just kind of lays it out. And then this is not like a tomorrow type thing, but like maybe in the next, maybe like in about 2 weeks from now or so, it might be something that we're interested in. I'm going to go down to the site right at the beginning of August and meet with the pastor of the church down there, and then also just kind of walk around a little bit and kind of get a feel for what they envision. But 21 units is fantastic. We're also gonna look and see if there's maybe possibly some DDS funding that can go towards it. But you know, these little projects, we've got another one also in Woodland as well with Chelsea Housing. Chelsea is out of San Diego area. They do most primarily their development for San Diego Regional Center. But they reached out. The director of San Diego Regional Center, Carlos Flores, is a great friend of our regional center, and he reached out to our executive director and kind of put us together with them. And so we also did a letter of support with the city of Woodland as well for development that they're looking at doing there. The nice thing about Chelsea is they don't really develop with DDS funds, and so they you know, between the tax credits and the other ways of finding financing, there's a good likelihood that one's going to be able to go forward too. I would love to have I'd love to have one in El Dorado County. I'd love to have one in Placer County, up in Yuba. As I was driving home from the camp that had to get evacuated a few days ago, I was driving south of Yuba City right there. And if you're familiar with that area, driving south, there's an old motel that is being converted by Habitat for Humanity. And we're actually working with them too. We're trying to figure out a way to fund their elevator and a few other things that they need to get fixed there, and then exchange it for some low cost leases for our clients there as well. So there's a bunch of these different things that were going on, and I got really excited for our regional center when I found out that there might be, you know, up to $100 million worth of housing development funds that were coming, you know, our way. So what I would say is, for our regional center, there is a lot of activity as it relates to these types of projects and things like that. And when and if the money becomes available from the state of California to really do a lot of hot and heavy, like get these things moved in, like in the next 2 to 3 year type projects, we'll be ready to do that because we've got things lined up. We've got connections with people. Patty mentioned in there, you know, Housing Now would also be willing to do a letter of support for our project. I will say that we are going to be reconvening our housing plan group for our regional center as well. We had a kind of an offshoot of our provider advisory committee to look at getting some housing, kind of a multi-year housing plan set up for the regional center. And so we'll be kind of reconvening to get those meetings going again as well.
John.
I have one last thing I want to touch on. Which is just that it's just that we have our upcoming board meeting tomorrow, and I think you have to register in advance. I think Maureen, right? Or Steve, you guys register in advance, yeah. So register in advance if you can. You know, Peter, I don't know if you've been to one of our board meetings before, but that might be a cool thing, especially since we don't have one in the month of August, and so July is kind of like your shot. Steve, did you have other questions?
I just want to let you know that I did just get the email from Christine Hobbs about the testing.
Oh, awesome. Oh, she's so good.
So it's going out right now as you speak. Great. You know,
Thank you. And again,
John, I really got to commend you for, you know, initiating this whole thing, because I think Maureen and I guess what, a week or two ago, kind of emailed you and Lori, kind of saying, you know, you guys have done a great job getting everyone, you know, trying to get everyone vaccinated, but what about people really trying to get, you know, the covert test done too?
yeah.
And I hope we're not opening up a whole can of worms that we're going to see a spike in it, but we very well could.
At least we'll know.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
that's the worst thing. So yeah, again, I would invite folks, if you guys are interested in attending our board meeting, and you know, again, this will be our second one with our new executive director, Lori Benatlas. She celebrated her first month in office in her new position. Again, and sorry, while I'm at it, I will say there's been a promotion at our regional center as well. So Lori Benatlas's former position as Director of Client Services has been filled by Michelle Johnson. So therefore, we are hiring currently for another associate director. So we are going to be interviewing folks to bring on another associate director. So Michelle has been fantastic in her role as an associate director these last few years. Before that, she managed our Woodland office for over 10 years and oversaw a lot of growth that went on out there. So very excited for her to step into this new position. So that being said, I took a lot of your guys' time up this morning, but I wanted to go over just some stuff that I hadn't really gotten a chance to talk about with everyone in one place. Are there other things that folks are curious about? And if I don't know the answer to, maybe I can email back if I can try.
Are you finding any racial group that is very hesitant about getting vaccinated or has not been vaccinated? That's, we are open.
Yeah,
and
I just looked in the upper left hand. I was going to make a comment about people that are not choosing to get vaccinated, but I decided that looking at that little record button in the upper left hand corner of the screen, I wouldn't say that comment. But that being said, I would say we're seeing it across the board. Certainly in the more rural areas. If you look at DDS's website, you can actually see the data. And it shows like percentage of people vaccinated, and you can go through like the different counties, and you can certainly see though that like in those rural counties where vaccinations dip in many places, for the general public, it's the same thing for our clients as well. So it is certainly we in the Sacramento area are seeing much more, but in across different ethnic lines and things like that, there's some folks that have issues and some religious concerns about it as well. But I don't know, I'm just starting to see news stories about people kind of changing their mind a little bit. And so I'm hoping that we, I'm hoping that we don't see too big of a surge right now through all of this. And that if there are folks that were hesitant about getting vaccinated, that they still do. I know Safeway was a great partner for us through our vaccine clinics that we did. They did give maybe we'll show it at the board meeting tomorrow, but they sent us an award for being a vaccine partner with and working with them to get folks vaccinated. And one thing that they've been talking about too is, okay, well, do you want to set up, flu clinics now? Do you want to, get those done? And so I will be reaching out to our service providers to see if folks are interested in hosting flu clinics. I don't think we're going to host big ones at the regional center, in the same way that we did with the COVID vaccines, but we certainly will connect Safeway to any of our community partners that are looking at hosting them kind of at their own sites.
Hey, I've been calling you for the last 45 minutes.
I've got a question, John.
Yes, yeah, Marie.
your report is great, and thank you for taking the time to come talk with us. You know, one of the concerns of our council has been people who aren't connected to Alta through the phone or having a laptop. And we know there's new state legislation and there's the federal money and there's a link at the website, the Alta website. But how do you have any information about how that's coming? Are we making any inroads with people who hadn't been connected, them signing up for that? Are the case workers able to get them to sign up?
You mean get them to sign up for the vaccinations?
No, I'm sorry, for the funds to help them get connected to the internet and have a laptop.
Oh, yes, sorry. Okay, yes. So I can give an update about that too. So we did complete the request for a proposal, and the company that we awarded it to is called Hour, like an hour in the day, HOUR, and then Miracles.
Okay.
And yeah, our Miracles, and they are going to be administering the program that Alta has in connecting folks to the technology.
I'll introduce you.
We are probably, I think we said we'd probably around September, October-ish by the time we really have it like operationalized, kind of make sure all the equipment's purchased and figure out exactly kind of like what the loaning library would look like. One of the things that I've expressed concerns about is for the, that's great for the startup time, but for the ongoing cost is figuring out how to connect to those individuals to the ongoing federal funding that's available, that's like separate from regional center funding, to help pay for that connectivity and stuff. And so what the expectation for the service provider is that they are going to be the ones that help connect clients and family to that as well. So it's not just loaning out equipment, but also making sure that there is like the ongoing funding availability too. So once those, I think we only had like $150,000, I think it was maybe, in startup funds that went towards this project. And so, there needs to be certainly an ongoing funding mechanism. I think I may have mentioned, I don't know if it was to this group, but DDS did put forward a service code to the feds for technology. But I think when they saw that there was all of this federal movement towards connecting folks, it's like, well, I don't think they're going to end up releasing the service code. And instead, I think there's going to be more of a push for regional centers. I'm hoping that this is one of those things, unfortunately, where I'm glad you brought it up, because this is one of those things that can right now slip down the priority list of our friends at DDS, because they've got so many other things that they need to figure out how to do right now. But I hope that they don't forget, and that's a good thing for me to remember, is that they really need to provide some guidance to the regional centers when it comes to how to access some of those federal funds for folks. Because otherwise, there was not just our regional center, there were 7 or 8 other regional centers that also got funds to connect clients to technology as well.
Well, with disasters like the fires and everything else, it's another reason to get people connected through the phones to be able to alert people. Anyway, I'm glad to hear that's happening. That's great.
Yeah, thank you, John. All right,
This is
any other
Peter.
questions for John before he leaves? And then we can do our approval of our minutes, and also we have to vote on elections for the DD Council again for the
How
next 2
about,
years.
Steve, we approve in concept when John gives us the other information, the DD Council sending a letter of support to Elk Grove or whomever it should be on the housing?
Yeah, we can make a motion right now. That'd be a good idea.
I so
Oh,
move.
that's great.
Okay,
Patty
we have a
Pacheco
second?
seconded.
okay. And we're good. So John,
Yeah, I have a question, if I could. I was trying to get myself off mute.
hang on for 1
This is Pat.
second, Patty. So,
Okay,
John,
sure.
If you send me the information, I'll share it with all the DD Council members, and then we'll send you a letter of support. No problem.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, Patty, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
John, I must be behind the times. I didn't hear that we lost that money. So the 150 that was set aside for affordable housing is gone, or it's just tapped into for other resources?
Oh, I thought we should raise money.
Yeah, it got eaten up by the rate study. By implementing the rate study.
All
Yeah,
right.
so
And I'm glad,
yeah, so there was-
Rachel, go ahead.
I was gonna say there was 8 pages worth of things that had to get deleted out of the HCBS spending plan.
Yeah,
What confused folks, and some of you guys know Ms. Mulvaney from participating and stuff with Karen at different meetings, but she emailed me back and she said, John, no, the 150 million is still in here. And then I realized that DDS actually sent out the draft one again to folks.
oh,
And so that's
right.
why if anyone got the email from DDS about it, it came out twice, is because Eagle Eye Karen Mulvaney found that DDS had done it incorrectly the first time. So
Okay.
yeah, that is a huge disappointment for us. But I also will say there's so much support behind that. I can't believe that it's just going to completely go away. Whether, you know,
Right.
the Lanterman housing folks are able to push something through with, you know, another
Yeah,
member of
I
the
haven't heard.
legislature.
Right.
But it's, I
All
mean,
right.
yeah, no better
Um,
way to support our clients than to ensure that they can have a nice place to live and, you know, raise their families and everything else.
Yeah. Okay. LHA is meeting, Lanterman Housing Alliance, September 23rd, 24 in San Diego. Details are forthcoming. So the other thing is, thank you. I'm glad you connected. I don't know if you connected with Rachel Frederick BJ. I was in touch with her and she's like, I said, have you notified John Decker about that project in Elk Grove? She's like, I'm trying to get in touch with them. So I'm glad that all came together. Is that 21 units? Is it integrated or is it just a standalone 21?
It's, I think it's a total of 80, it's 1/4. So I think it's what, 84 units or something like that?
Okay. Cool.
Total.
Good.
Yeah. All right. And I
Yeah.
reached out to Habitat too, but I never heard back from them. So I'm glad you're doing something and doing the elevator thing for them in Yuba.
Yeah, and
So-
those folks, you know, they really can stretch a dollar too, I have found. So
Right.
we hopefully can partner with them. All right, I gotta run to my next
All right,
meeting,
see you,
guys.
John.
John,
All right.
real
Thank you so
See you
quickly,
guys later.
Thanks,
John, real
Take care.
quickly, I want to introduce Sharon Martin. Sharon, you want to say hello? Sharon's the newest member of our DD Council, and I have her on my phone.
Hi there, Sharon, can you hear me?
Hi, John.
Hi, Sharon, nice to meet you. Look forward to meeting you.
I'm glad to meet you too.
All right, and Tiffany also just joined us. Tiffany applied to be on our DD Council. And
Hi,
we'll-
Tiffany.
Hi, everyone.
Oh,
How you doing?
All right, John, thank you very, very much. Everyone, please stay on so we can approve the minutes for the June meeting and then also talk about the elections, okay?
Yes.
John, thank you very, very much, as always. Okay, so I emailed everyone the June DD Council minutes. Anyone bother to read them or review them?
I move that we approve them.
I would have to ask somebody to help me read it. I don't ask. Did you do it on my iPad?
No, I didn't send it to you, Sharon, because you weren't part of the June meeting. You'll get the minutes for the July meeting, the one you attended today, okay? All right, Tiffany, after we're done with this meeting, I would like you to stay on so Maureen and I can talk to you about doing the interview, okay? I sent the email this morning to Clarice Thomas asking when we can do it, and I haven't heard back yet, so we'll see, okay? All right, any questions before I make a motion for us to do the elections again? No comments, Mr. John Berger?
Yes,
Yes, what?
no comments.
No comment? All right. I make a motion that we elect John Berger as the,
I'm sorry, Patty, what?
all right. Would anyone like to assume the position of chairman?
I think you've done such a good job, Steve, that you should continue.
I was going to recommend you, Sue. Are you
No,
kidding?
no.
All right. All right, I'll accept it. How about vice chair?
How about Maureen?
We got to have Maureen. She writes those poison pen letters that are just dynamite.
You're right.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
I agree.
All right. So John, one of the things I took a look and I printed it out with the testing is who's going to pay for it. So I'm assuming that the antigen testing is going to get done. So just like the covert testing was getting done, that it doesn't cost anything.
That's great.
So I don't know if you got the same email I got from Christina Hobbs from Alta, but I'll definitely pursue and find out
Yeah, that's
how this
great.
whole thing gets done. Because, you know, I think I had talked to, a couple of people that it doesn't make any sense to have people return to day programs if we don't know if they have the COVID virus. I know our staff has to get it once a month, but we don't know if any of the participants that are joining, have it. So I think this is really instrumental, and hopefully the numbers will not increase dramatically, but I have a feeling they are going to increase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else, guys? Thank you. John is a wealth of information. And I can't believe he can talk nonstop for like 45 minutes at a time. And he makes sense too, That's the best part about it. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Peter, you did a great job, and I really like that you can read some of the stuff on the screen here. I don't think Sonia's ever done that. That's really cool.
Yeah, we can enable captioning, which is really important as part of providing universal access. It's a relatively new feature on Zoom, so it's something that I'm sure will carry forward in the future.
Good. Okay. All right. So I want to talk to Maureen and Tiffany kind of more or less privately. Are you going to be able to allow us to stay on?
We're coordinating with Tiffany about her being interviewed.
Thank you.
to come on the
Bye.
Zoom.
Okay,
So
Steve, do you
I'm-
have,
I'm
if
gonna
you
sign
have a
you off,
Facebook
and
account,
I'll
I
catch up
can
with
go
you
ahead and make
in a
you
day
the
or two and
host.
coordinate
Would that
something
be all
for you.
right?
I can't hear you because somebody else was talking. Say it again.
Okay, bye-bye.
I can make you the host if you have a Facebook account.
No, I don't have Facebook. I'm old school.
Is there anybody on here who does?
No, that's all right. Just stick around then. And you can
Whatever
stop the
said, I
recording
will.
now.
I'll
Yeah,
be like I'm
Stop
not
the
here.
recording. And then, yeah. All right,
Hold on, let me
Sharon,
get the
thank you very
recording.
much for participating, okay?
I'm gonna turn off the recording. Hang on.
I know how we could do it. We could rate